Welcome to Entomology, the study of insects. This presentation introduces some of the most common groups of insects. Insects are the most numerous group of animals on Earth, with more than 1 million species described. Since it's impossible to know all of them, scientists have developed classification systems to organize this vast number of species into related groups. This presentation will focus on the most important groups, which include many species that are familiar to gardeners and nature lovers. You'll learn about the features that distinguish the different groups and the characteristics of each. Insects are classified into a number of different orders. The exact number is debatable depending on the classification scheme. We will only examine the bigger, more common groups. These different groups can be separated on the type of development they have, either gradual or complete metamorphosis, the type of mouthparts they have, primarily chewing or sucking, and characteristics of their wings, including how many they have and any modifications of the wings. These will be presented in order from those considered by scientists to be most primitive to those that are more advanced, rather than alphabetically or another way. Our first order is the Orthoptera. This name comes from the Greek word ortho, meaning straight, and ptera, meaning wing, referring to the parallel-sided structure of the front wings. This group includes the grasshoppers, crickets, katydids, and related insects. Orthopterans go through gradual metamorphosis, so the young grasshoppers resemble their parents, except that they do not have fully formed wings. Almost all of these insects are herbivores, with chewing mouthparts, but a few, such as some tree crickets, may be omnivores and eat other insects at times. They have 2 pairs of wings, with 1 pair thickened and leathery. The forewings, called tegmina, are narrower than the hind wings and are hardened at the base. The wings are held against the body when at rest, covering the abdomen. The membranous hind wings used for flying are folded up like a fan under the forewings when not in use. Many have hind legs elongated for jumping, and most are capable of producing sound by rubbing their wings against each other or against their legs. The Dermaptera are the earwigs. The name means skin wings, referring to the leathery texture of the forewings. Earwigs have a slender flattened body, bead-like antennae, and are easily recognized by the pair of large pinchers at the end of the abdomen. Like the grasshoppers, earwigs go through gradual metamorphosis and have chewing mouthparts, and most are either plant feeders or scavengers. Earwigs rarely fly, and their wings may or may not be completely developed. The first pair is truncated into a leathery plate, with the membranous hindwings folded up under the modified forewings. This leaves the abdomen exposed. The pinchers are actually terminal cerci. The shape of the pinchers of the males is specific to the different species, but pretty much the same in all females. Earwigs are harmless to people, though they may emit a foul-smelling liquid when disturbed or use their pinchers in defense. The order Hemiptera includes the true bugs, such as stink bugs, leaf-footed bugs, and box elder bugs. The name hemi means half, referring to the structure of the wings of the insects in this suborder, called the Heteroptera. The order also includes another group that used to be in a separate order called the Homoptera, so you may still encounter references to this name, but that has now been included in the Hemiptera as the suborder Homoptera. This suborder encompasses a diverse group of insects, including cicadas, aphids, leafhoppers, mealybugs, scales, whiteflies, and others. Like the previous orders, hemipterans go through gradual metamorphosis. Newly hatched nymphs look similar to the adults, except in size and the lack of wings. As the nymphs grow, wings start to develop externally, but it isn't until they molt to the adult stage that the wings become functional. Unlike the previous 2 orders which had chewing mouthparts, all hemipterans have sucking mouthparts. Many are important plant pests, but others are predators, feeding on other insects instead of on plants. Like most insects, they have 2 pairs of membranous wings, although in the true bugs, the suborder Heteroptera, the wings are hardened near the base, but membranous at the end. Wings with this modification are called hemielytra. In the suborder Homoptera, the entire wing is membranous without any hardened parts, But some of the groups in the Homoptera don't always have wings. For example, the aphids only develop wings at certain times in their life cycle, and female scale insects and mealybugs never have wings, but the males do. The order Neuroptera includes lacewings, antlions, dobsonflies, and their relatives. They are generally rather fragile insects with wings that have lots of veins. You may have seen little depressions in the sand like this, which are pits dug by antlion larvae. A larva waits hidden at the bottom, under the sand, waiting for an ant or other insect to fall into the pit, and then it will pop up to capture the hapless prey. This group undergoes complete metamorphosis, so the larvae and adults are generally found in different habitats, feeding on different foods. Here you see the stages in the green lacewing cycle, from the eggs laid on thin stalks to prevent cannibalism by the first to hatch, to the larva on the lower left, pupa inside a spherical white cocoon on a leaf, and the green lacewing adult. The larvae and many adults are predaceous, and almost all have chewing mouthparts, although a few immatures have mouthparts modified for grasping and sucking. Neuropterans have two pairs of membranous wings of about the same size and shape. The English translation of Neuroptera as nerve wings is very appropriate, alluding to the extensive network of veins. Most, but not all of these insects hold their wings roof-like over the abdomen. The order Coleoptera is the beetles. The name comes from the Greek koleos, meaning sheath, and ptera, meaning wing, referring to the hardened forewings that form a sheath over the back part of the body. This is a large and diverse group of insects. About 40% of all described insect species are beetles, and they are about 25% of all known animal species. Beetles undergo complete metamorphosis, with the larvae typically referred to as grubs. This series of photographs shows 3 stages in the life cycle of the Japanese beetle. Both the larva, called a white grub on the left, and the pupa in the center are found in the soil, while the adult on the right is found on many plants. Beetles have chewing mouthparts as both larvae and adults, but despite this commonality, they have the potential to live in different habitats, although some still share the same foods. For example, you'll find both the adults and grubs of Colorado potato beetle all together defoliating potato plants. Many species are herbivores feeding on plants like the Colorado potato beetle does, whether focusing on just a few plants like that beetle does, or having a wide host range, such as Japanese beetle, which will feed on many different plants as adults. Many of these are important agricultural or garden pests. Others are very important predators, such as lady beetles, while some are parasitoids. Others are scavengers feeding on carrion or dung, while some feed on fungi, and yet others infest stored products such as flour, grains, or animal products such as wool or skins. Then there are many that bore into wood, either alive as trees or dead as in fallen wood or in man-made structures. As mentioned before, the first of the 2 pairs of wings has been hardened into a sheath-like shell that covers the hind end of the body, and the second membranous pair of wings that are used to fly. These modified wings are called elytra. In a few groups, the ability to fly has been lost, but the wings still remain. The order Lepidoptera includes the butterflies, moths, and skippers. The name is derived from the ancient Greek word lepis, meaning scale, along with ptera for wing. So they are the scale-winged insects, referring to the scales that cover their wings and bodies. As a more advanced group, they go through complete metamorphosis. In this group, all of the adults and larvae, commonly called caterpillars, do very different things. The larvae are generally herbivorous, feeding on plants. They all go through a pupal stage, which may be in a naked chrysalis, as pictured here in the top picture, or inside a cocoon spun by the larva before molting. When considering pest management strategies, it is important to identify the pest as a lepidopteran rather than something that looks superficially the same, as some control measures, particularly insecticides and microbial pesticides such as Bt, only affect caterpillars and no other types of insects. Caterpillars can be distinguished from other larvae that are also worm-like in appearance by the presence of both true legs, which are 3 pairs of jointed legs which arise from the segments just behind the head, and prolegs, fleshy, leg-like extensions located on several abdominal segments at the end of the body. Each proleg has a set of crochets, hook-like devices at the tip, which it uses to hold onto the leaf or other substrate. The pattern of crochets on the prolegs is sometimes a diagnostic feature for identifying caterpillar species. In this photo, an iris borer is laying upside down, so the jointed legs are just visible in the background, and the dark-colored crochets are visible on the fat, stumpy prolegs along the abdomen. Lepidopteran larvae have chewing mouthparts and feed on plants. Caterpillars are voracious feeders, and many of them are important pests of ornamentals, vegetables, forest trees, and in agricultural crops. The adults typically feed on flower nectar, and some are important pollinators. Their mouthparts have been modified to form an elongated proboscis, which is kept coiled up under the head when it is not being used to suck up nectar or other liquids. As mentioned before, the two pairs of wings, as well as the body, are covered with scales. The wing scales are modified flattened bristles arranged in overlapping rows on the wings, like shingles on the roof of a house. The scales contain pigments that create a variety of colors and patterns, although some wing colors are produced by the interplay of light with the microscopic structure of the scales. Scales on the body, which may also be flattened or could be more hair-like, also provide insulation and help in thermal regulation. The order Diptera is the true flies. The name is derived from the Greek words di, meaning two, and ptera, meaning wings. So guess how many wings this group has? Although many insects include the word fly in their name, such as butterfly or dragonfly or whitefly, those insects belong to other orders with 4 wings. The Diptera includes only those that are true flies, having just 1 pair of wings. These include mosquitoes, gnats, midges, and flies such as houseflies, horseflies, craneflies, robber flies, and many others. This is another higher order with complete metamorphosis. The adults and legless larvae, commonly called maggots, generally occur in different habitats and feed on different types of food than the adults. For example, syrphid or flower flies, on the upper right, feed on aphids as immatures, while the adults visit flowers for nectar and pollen. In the lower set of photos, the maggots of this tachinid fly are parasitoids, living inside the body of the host cabbage looper. The holes on the back of the caterpillar are the breathing tubes of the maggots. Once they complete their development, they pupate, as seen in the center picture, and by then have killed their host, to eventually turn it into the fly on the right. The maggots all have chewing mouthparts, while the adults may also have chewing mouthparts, or they may be modified in various ways, such as the sponging mouthparts of the syrphid fly on the yellow flower in the central picture, or piercing sucking mouthparts of the mosquito. Some flies are predators in the adult or larval stages. Some maggots are parasitoids, while many are scavengers or feed on plants. Many dipterans, mosquitoes in particular, have evolved to feed on animal blood and are important in disease transmission. Other adult flies feed on nectar or pollen, so are important as pollinators. Adult flies, except for a few wingless species, only have 2 functional wings. This is a good way to distinguish flies from bees or wasps that look superficially the same. Each hind wing has been reduced to a small knob or club-like appendage called a haltere that functions as a gyroscope to maintain balance. They're very small and not easy to see. Our last order is the Hymenoptera, whose name comes from the Greek word hymen, meaning membrane, and ptera, meaning wings. So these insects all have membranous wings. It is a large order with a diverse group of insects including sawflies, ants, wasps, and bees. There are several groups of social insects that live together in large colonies, as well as many that live individually. Some are extremely tiny, completing their entire life cycle inside an insect egg or a tiny aphid. This order goes through complete metamorphosis, with the adults and larvae often living in very different habitats. The larvae of the more primitive Hymenoptera, the sawflies, resemble caterpillars in appearance, feeding singly or in groups on leaves. Unlike caterpillars, however, They either do not have prolegs, or if they do have prolegs, there are no crochets on them. Most Hymenopter larvae look more like maggots without legs. This is an adaptation to life in a protected environment, such as in the cells inside a beehive or wasp nest, where they are taken care of by the adults, or inside the body of their host, for those that are parasitoids. The larvae all have chewing mouthparts, while the adults may have chewing mouthparts, but some have mouthparts modified into a proboscis for drinking nectar or other liquids. The adults have two pairs of membranous wings that generally are different in size and shape, with the fore and hind wings held together by hooked bristles called hamuli. A distinctive feature of this group is the ovipositor that females have for inserting eggs into their larval hosts or other inaccessible places. In some groups, the ovipositor has been modified into a stinger for defense, which you're aware of if you've ever been stung by a bee or wasp. But the long ovipositor of some wasps, while quite imposing, isn't used for defense, so those wasps don't sting. They need that long ovipositor to reach deep into the soil or into wood to where the larval hosts, such as grubs or caterpillars, live, in order to place their eggs there.